creo. Acá está el gato. Y el 7. Ah, no, el 7. Entonces, he made it to Ground Central well in advance. Stillman's train was not due to arrive until 6:41. But Green wanted time to study the geography of the place to make sure the steamer would not be able to slip away from him. As he emerged from the subway and entered the great hall, he saw by the clock that it was just past 4. Already the station had begun to fill the rush hour crowd, making his way through the press of oncoming bodies. Quinn made a tour of the number gates, looking for hidden staircases and marked exits, dark alcoves. He concluded that a man determined to disappear could do so without much trouble. He would have to hope that Stillman had not been warned that he would be there. If that were the case and Stillman managed to elude him, it would mean that Virginia Stillman was responsible. There was no one else. It solaced him to know that he had an alternate plan. If things went awry, if Stillman did not show up, Quinn would go straight to 69th Street and confront Virginia Stillman with what he knew. As he wandered through the station, he reminded himself of who he was supposed to be. The effect of being Paul Auster, he had begun to learn, was not altogether unpleasant. Although he felt as though he had somehow been taken out of himself, as if he no longer had to walk around with the burden of his unconsciousness, by a simple trick of intelligence, a deaf little twist of naming, he felt incomparably lighter and freer. At the same time, he knew it was all an illusion, but there was a certain comfort in that. He had not really lost himself. He was merely pretending, and he could return to being Queen whenever he wished. The fact that there was now a purpose to his being Paul Auster, a purpose that was becoming more and more important to him, served as a kind of moral justification for the charade and absolved him of having to defend his life, for imagining himself as Auster had become synonymous in his mind with doing good in the world. He wandered through the station, then, as if inside the body of Paul Auster, waiting for Stillman to appear. He looked up at the vaulted ceiling of the great hall and studied the fresco of constellations. There were light bulbs representing the stars and light drawings of the celestial figures. Quinn had never been able to grasp the connection between the constellations and their names. As a boy, he had spent many hours under the night sky trying to tally the clusters of pinprick lights with the shapes of pears, balls, arches, and water carriers. But nothing had ever come of it, and he had felt stupid, as though there were a blind spot in the center of the brain. He wondered if the young Auster had been any better at it than he was. Across the way, occupying the greater part of the station's east wall, was the Kodak display photograph with its bright unearthly colors. The scene that mother showed a street in some New England fishing village, perhaps Nantucket, a beautiful spring light shone on the cobblestones. Flowers of many colors stood in window boxes along the house fronts, and far down at the end of the street was the ocean, with its white waves and blue water. Quinn remembered visiting Nantucket with Foster's eyes. He said to himself, "I don't think of anything else." He turned his attention to the photograph again and was relieved to find his thoughts wandering to the subject of Wales, to the expeditions that had set out from Nantucket in the last century to Melville and the opening pages of Moby Dick. From there his mind drifted off to the accounts he had read of Melville's last years, the taciturn